You open your eyes to darkness. The air around you is cool and still, carrying the faint mineral scent of old stone. You are standing at the edge of the Roman Forum. The great square stretches before you, barely visible under a sky of deep indigo. No voices, no movement, only the quiet breath of a sleeping city. Somewhere far away, a dog barks once and falls silent. The ground beneath your sandals is smooth travertine, worn by a million footsteps over centuries. You take your first step forward. The stone is cold against your skin. Above you, the last stars of the night cling to the western sky, pale and fading. Rome is here, all around you, ancient and immense, and the morning has not yet begun. The sky above the Forum is the color of deep water. No clouds tonight. The stars are scattered like grains of salt across dark cloth. You stand still and look upward. The Romans called this sky Caelum, the vault of heaven. They believed it was held up by the shoulders of Atlas, far to the west. One by one, the stars are disappearing. The light has not arrived yet, but the darkness is thinning, softening at its edges. The great columns of the temples are barely visible, rising like shadows of trees in a forest of stone. The air moves gently across your face. It carries the coolness of the Tiber, flowing somewhere beyond the hills. You breathe it in. The night is ending, slowly and without hurry. A single flame catches your eye. In a doorway to your left, an oil lamp burns inside a small clay holder. Its light is the color of warm honey, trembling gently against the dark wall. The Romans called these lucernae. Every household kept them burning through the night, small guardians against the darkness. The olive oil inside gives off a faint, earthy scent. You step closer and watch the flame dance. It throws tiny shadows across the carved stone threshold. Above the door, you notice a faded fresco, perhaps a household god, painted in ochre and faded red. The paint is cracked, but the image remains. Someone placed this lamp here hours ago, before sleep. It has been burning faithfully ever since, asking nothing, giving its small light to the empty street. You turn onto the Via Sacra, the sacred way. This is the oldest road in Rome, the path that emperors walked in triumph, that priests followed to the temples on the Capitoline Hill. Now, in this quiet hour, it belongs only to you. The paving stones are large and irregular, fitted together by hands that lived 2,000 years ago. Your footsteps make a soft sound against them, a gentle rhythm in the silence. The buildings rise on either side, their facades dark and featureless. Insulae, apartment blocks, 5 and 6 stories tall, their upper windows shuttered tight. Behind those walls, thousands of Romans sleep. You walk among their dreams. The road curves gently ahead, following the contour of the valley between the hills. You follow it, step by step, in no hurry at all. It rained last night. You can smell it in the stone, that clean, earthy scent that rises when water meets ancient rock. The Romans called it petrichor, though they had no single word for it. They simply knew the smell and loved it. Small puddles have gathered in the low places between the paving stones. They are perfectly still, and in their surface you see a reflection of the sky above, dark blue fading to grey. You step around them carefully. The wet stone gleams faintly where the lamplight reaches it. Everything feels washed clean. The dust of yesterday is gone. The city has been rinsed and left to dry in the cool air of early morning. You breathe deeply. The air tastes fresh, almost sweet, like the first drink of water after a long sleep. A movement at the edge of your vision. A cat, small, grey, quick, crosses the stone steps of a public building. It stops and turns to look at you. Its eyes catch the faint light, 2 small discs of green gold. Cats were common in Rome. They kept the grain stores free of mice. They belonged to no one and everyone. This one watches you for a long moment, its tail curled around its paws. It blinks slowly, a gesture that cat lovers today would recognize as trust. Then it stands, stretches with elegant precision, and vanishes into the dark gap between two buildings. The street is yours again. You smile. Even here, 2,000 years in the past, the small rituals of cats and humans remain exactly the same. The Basilica Aemilia rises before you, vast and solemn. Built nearly 2 centuries before the birth of Christ, it was one of the Forum's great public buildings, a place of business, law, and conversation. Its facade is lined with columns of pale marble, rising high into the darkness. In daylight, these columns are magnificent. Now, in the pre-dawn, they are like the trunks of enormous trees, silent and still. You walk along their base. Each column is wider than you can reach around. The stone is smooth and dry, polished by time and 10,000 leaning shoulders. Between the columns, the interior is a deep black void. You do not enter. Instead, you place your palm against the nearest column and hold it there. The marble is cool. It has been cool for 2,000 years. Footsteps, not yours. Somewhere in the maze of streets beyond the Forum, someone is walking. The sound reaches you faintly. Leather soles on stone, a steady, purposeful rhythm. These are the first workers of the Roman day. Perhaps a pister, a baker, heading to fire up his oven before the city wakes. Perhaps a water carrier, making his way to the nearest fountain with empty clay jars balanced on a wooden yoke. The Romans began their working day before dawn. The wealthy could afford to sleep, but for the laborers, the craftsmen, the bakers, and the builders, the day started in darkness. The footsteps grow fainter, turning down some distant alley. You listen until they are gone. Then silence returns, settling around you like a familiar blanket. You look east. Above the rooftops of the Esquiline Hill, the sky is changing. The deep indigo has given way to something softer, a pale, luminous grey, tinged with the faintest warmth of gold. Dawn is approaching. The Romans divided the day into 12 hours of light and 12 of darkness, adjusting with the seasons. In summer, the hours of light were long and generous. In winter, they were short and precious. Today, the light comes slowly, as if the sun is reluctant to leave the horizon. A thin band of amber appears between the buildings and the sky. It widens, minute by minute. The world is holding its breath. You watch the color deepen and spread, feeling the ancient anticipation of a new day beginning, just as it has begun every morning for millennia. A temple door stands slightly open. You approach it quietly and peer inside. The interior is dim, lit only by a few low-burning oil lamps. The air is different here, thick with the scent of incense, dried laurel, and something sweet, perhaps old wine from a libation. This is a sacred space. The Romans took their gods seriously. Every temple was a house for a deity, and every offering was a conversation with the divine. You can see the outline of a statue at the far end, standing in a niche. It is draped in cloth. At its feet, someone has left dried flowers, a small bronze coin, and a folded ribbon. These offerings are simple and sincere. You stand at the threshold, respectful, quiet. The cool air from inside touches your face like a whispered greeting. You find a stone bench along the edge of the Forum and sit down. The stone is cold beneath you, but you do not mind. This is a good place to wait. The Forum stretches before you, a wide, open space bordered by temples, basilicas, and arches. In a few hours, it will be crowded with thousands of people. Senators will argue, merchants will shout, children will chase each other between the stalls. But not yet. Right now, it is yours alone. You rest your hands on your knees and breathe slowly. The sky continues to lighten. The buildings are gaining definition, edges, textures, colors emerging from the gray. You watch this transformation with the patience of someone who has nowhere to be. There is no rush. The morning will come on its own time. The air grows warmer by a single degree. You notice it on your arms, on the back of your neck. Somewhere beyond the forum, a rooster calls, a bright, sharp sound that cuts through the pre-dawn quiet and then fades. The Romans kept roosters as natural alarm clocks. The Gallicinium, they called it, the cock crow, the signal that night was ending. Other sounds follow. A shutter opens with a wooden clatter. A voice calls out, muffled and distant. A cartwheel begins to turn on a cobblestone street, its iron rim grinding slowly. The city is stirring. It rises like a sleeper waking, first one eye, then the other, then a long, slow stretch. The stillness you have been living in is dissolving, gently and naturally, like mist over water. You stand from the bench and continue walking. The Via Sacra stretches ahead, no longer quite so dark. The shapes of the buildings are clear now. Doorways, windows, balconies, the hanging signs of shops not yet open. You can see the colors returning to the world. The warm ochre of painted walls, the grey-white of marble, the deep green of a vine climbing a wooden trellis. Your footsteps feel lighter now. The cold stone has given way to something almost warm beneath your feet. The forum is waking, and so are you. Whatever comes next, the bread, the water, the voices, the light, it will arrive gently at the pace of this ancient city. You walk forward, unhurried, and the dawn walks with you. A warmth reaches you before you see its source. It is the smell of bread, not yet baked, but rising. The yeasty living scent of dough fills the narrow street ahead. You follow it instinctively. The Romans ate bread every day. It was the foundation of their diet, distributed free to citizens through the annona, the public grain supply. The bakeries of Rome, the Pistrina, were among the first buildings to wake each morning. You round a corner and there it is, a small storefront with a wide stone counter, its wooden shutters folded back. Inside, a glow the color of sunset. The warmth pours out onto the street and wraps around you like a familiar embrace. You have found the baker. The bakery is small and golden. The walls are darkened with years of smoke and heat. A large domed oven is built into the back wall, its mouth glowing with a deep amber light. This is a wood-fired oven, fueled by dried olive branches and oak. The Romans perfected this design. The heat circulates inside the dome, baking the bread evenly on all sides. You feel the warmth on your face, steady and enveloping, like standing near a sleeping animal that breathes heat. The floor is dusted with flour. Wooden paddles lean against the wall, their flat ends smooth from years of use. Clay bowls are stacked on a shelf, filled with risen dough covered in linen cloth. Everything in this room serves one purpose. The baker stands at a long wooden table. He is a stocky man with strong forearms, dusted white to the elbows. He works the dough with a slow rolling motion, pressing, folding, turning. His hands move with the certainty of someone who has done this 10,000 times. In Rome, baking was a respected trade. Many bakers were freedmen, former slaves who had earned their liberty and built their lives around flour and fire. The dough beneath his hands is alive. You can see it stretch and resist, yielding slowly to his practiced pressure. He does not speak. The work is its own language. The only sounds are the soft thud of dough against wood and the quiet crackle of embers in the oven behind him. On a wooden shelf near the oven, round loaves cool in neat rows. They are panis, the daily bread of Rome. Each loaf is scored with deep lines that divide it into 8 wedges, making it easy to break and share at the table. The crust is dark golden brown, cracked along the score lines where steam escaped during baking. You lean close. The scent is extraordinary, warm grain, a hint of char, the deep comfort of something truly fundamental. The Romans baked many varieties. Panis siligineus, from fine white flour, was for the wealthy. Panis plebeius, darker and coarser, fed ordinary citizens. But all of it smelled like this. All of it carried the same ancient promise: you will not go hungry today. You step closer to the oven. The heat intensifies, pressing against your skin like warm cloth. You close your eyes and let it surround you completely. The fire inside the dome shifts and settles with a soft sound. Sparks drift upward through the chimney, tiny orange stars that live for a moment and disappear. The smell is layered here, bread and wood smoke, and the faint sweetness of olive oil brushed on the baking stones. The oven breathes. It takes air in through its mouth and releases warmth in steady waves. The Romans understood fire as a living thing. Vesta, goddess of the hearth, was honored in every home. Her eternal flame burned at the heart of the forum. Fire was sacred. Fire meant home. A boy appears from a back room, carrying a wooden tray stacked with fresh loaves. He is perhaps 12, thin and quick, an apprentice learning the trade from his father. He moves through the bakery with practiced ease, ducking under a low beam, stepping over a sack of grain without looking down. At the doorway, he pauses. The cool morning air meets the warm bread, and a thin wisp of steam curls upward from the tray. He glances at you with curious dark eyes, then continues outside. In Rome, children often worked alongside their families from a young age. There was no sharp line between childhood and labor. The boy sets the tray on the stone counter and arranges the loaves carefully. The first customers will arrive soon. Against the far wall, large clay jars stand in a row. These are dolia, storage vessels used throughout the Roman world for grain, wine, and olive oil. You touch one. The clay is cool and rough beneath your fingers, the surface unglazed and porous, gently breathing. Inside you see grain, emmer wheat, the ancient variety that Romans preferred. It is pale gold, dry and clean, shipped across the Mediterranean from the farms of Egypt and North Africa. Rome consumed enormous quantities of grain. The entire imperial supply chain existed, in part, to keep this city fed. You lift a handful and let it fall slowly back. The grains make a soft, whispering sound, like sand through an hourglass. Each one is small and ordinary. Together they sustain an empire. In the room behind the oven, a millstone turns. It is a heavy disk of dark volcanic rock, fitted onto a wooden frame and turned by a small, patient donkey walking in circles. The grinding sound is low and constant, a deep hum beneath the other sounds of the bakery. This is how Rome made its flour. Grain poured into the hole at the center of the stone. Flour emerged at the edges, fine and pale, collecting in a wooden trough below. The donkey has walked this circle every morning for years. Its eyes are calm and half-closed. There is no cruelty here, only the comfort of routine. The miller occasionally pats the animal's flank and murmurs something kind. The wheel turns steadily. The flour flows. Outside the bakery, the first customers arrive. An old woman in a faded stola approaches the counter slowly. She holds a small bronze coin in her palm. She does not need to speak. The baker's boy hands her a loaf, accepts the coin, and nods. This exchange has happened 1,000 mornings before this one. A man in a rough tunic buys 2 loaves and tucks them under his arm. Then a young woman with a child balanced on her hip. The child reaches for the bread with small, eager hands. The transactions are quiet and quick. No one haggles at this hour. The price of bread in Rome was controlled by the state, the same in every shop. Everyone knew the cost. Everyone paid. The line grows slowly, naturally, like morning light. The baker hands you a piece of bread. You did not ask for it, but he offers it with a small nod and the trace of a smile. You accept. The crust cracks gently under your fingers. Inside, the bread is soft and warm, the color of pale cream. Steam rises from the broken surface in a thin, curling wisp. You bring it to your mouth. The taste is simple and profound. Grain, salt, warmth, the faintest sweetness of well-baked wheat. It dissolves slowly on your tongue. This is what bread tasted like before machines and plastic wrappers and preservatives. This is bread as it was meant to be: flour, water, salt, and fire. Nothing more. You chew slowly, eyes half closed, and the entire world narrows to this single perfect taste. The taste lingers on your tongue. It is not complex. It does not try to be anything other than what it is. Grain grown under the Mediterranean sun. Water drawn from a well. Salt carried from the coast. Fire tended through the long night. These four elements, combined by human hands, have sustained civilizations for 10,000 years. You swallow and feel the warmth travel downward, settling somewhere deep in your chest. It grounds you here. It connects you to this place, this morning, this ancient city. The Romans understood bread as more than food. It was a rite, a social contract between the state and its people. Panem et circenses, bread and circuses. Give the people bread, and the city holds together. You eat the last piece slowly. The baker's wife emerges from a side door, carrying a clay plate of small golden cakes. These are libum, honey cakes made from flour, fresh cheese, and wild honey, traditionally offered to the gods, but also sold as a sweet morning treat. She arranges them on the counter with quiet care, each one placed just so. The cakes are round and glistening with a thin layer of honey that catches the lamplight and glows. The scent is intoxicating: warm honey, browned butter, the faint tang of cheese. Roman baking was more varied than most people imagine. They made pastries, flatbreads, stuffed breads, and festival cakes for every occasion. The wife steps back and surveys her display with the satisfaction of someone who takes pride in small, beautiful things. You step out of the bakery and back into the street. The air is cooler here, but the warmth stays with you, in your chest, on your lips, in the memory of flour and flame. The street is no longer empty. Other doors are opening along the block. Other lamps are being lit behind shuttered windows. You can hear the clink of pottery, the murmur of voices rising, the creak of a cart being loaded somewhere nearby. The city is waking around you, gently and inevitably, like a tide coming in. You carry the taste of bread with you as you walk onward. It is the taste of Rome itself, simple, sustaining, made with care and patience. Behind you, the oven continues to glow. Ahead of you, the forum awaits. You hear water before you see it. A soft, steady trickle somewhere ahead, gentle and persistent. The sound draws you forward along a narrow lane between two tall buildings. Water was the lifeblood of Rome. The city's aqueducts carried millions of gallons each day from the hills, feeding hundreds of public fountains, bathhouses, and private homes. The engineering was extraordinary, gravity-fed channels spanning valleys on towering arches. But here, at street level, the result is simple and beautiful. The sound of clean water, flowing freely, available to everyone. You turn a corner and see it. A stone basin set into a wall, water pouring from a carved spout shaped like the head of a lion. The basin overflows gently, sending a thin sheet of water across the paving stones at your feet. The fountain is modest, but ancient. The stone basin is worn smooth by centuries of hands, dipping into the water, cups pressed against the rim, children splashing on hot afternoons. The lion's head above the spout has been eroded by time. Its features are soft and rounded, its expression calm, almost sleepy. Water pours steadily from its open mouth, clear and cold, catching the early light in brief silver flashes. This fountain never stops. Day and night, summer and winter, the water flows. It flowed when Caesar walked these streets. It flowed when Cicero argued in the courts nearby. It flows now, as you stand here watching. You reach out and let the water run over your fingers. It is cold and startlingly pure. You cup your hands and drink. The water is cold against your lips. It tastes of stone and distance, of mountain springs and underground channels that run for miles beneath the Roman countryside. You drink slowly. The Romans were particular about their water. The best supply came from the Aqua Marcia, an aqueduct built in 144 BC, praised by Pliny for its clarity and cold. Different aqueducts served different purposes. Some fed the public baths, some irrigated gardens. The finest were reserved for drinking. You let the water flow over your hands, watching it pool in your cupped palms and spill between your fingers. It is such a simple thing, clean water from a public fountain. But in the ancient world, it was a marvel of engineering, generosity, and civic pride. You wipe your mouth and feel refreshed. Nearby, a temple rises from a platform of wide, shallow steps. It is not the largest temple in the Forum, but in the growing light, it is beautiful. The columns across its front are carved from pale travertine, the local limestone that Romans used for everything from aqueducts to amphitheaters. Each column is fluted with vertical grooves that catch the light and shadow in alternating stripes. At the top, a triangular pediment displays carved figures, though from the ground their details are difficult to read. The temple's bronze doors are closed. A thin curl of incense smoke escapes from beneath them, evidence that a priest has already begun the morning rites inside. You stand at the base of the steps and look upward, feeling small and present. You climb the temple steps slowly. Each step is wide and worn, the edges rounded by 10,000 years of feet. The stone is pale grey, flecked with tiny crystals that catch the morning light. Roman temples were not places of congregation like churches. They were houses for the gods, maintained by priests, entered by few. Ordinary citizens worshipped outside, on the steps and in the open space before the entrance. You climb steadily, feeling the smooth stone beneath your sandals. Halfway up, you pause and turn around. The Forum spreads below you. From this height, you can see the full sweep of the open square, the market stalls beginning to fill, the columns of the basilicas, the dark line of the Via Sacra. It looks peaceful and small from here, like a model of itself. Between the columns at the top of the steps, you stand in a corridor of light and shadow. The columns are close together, each one thicker than your arms can reach around. Looking through them, you see the Forum framed in vertical slices, as if viewed through the bars of a gentle cage. The light falls in long diagonal beams between the columns, bright gold alternating with cool grey shadow. Dust motes drift lazily in the light. You reach out and touch the nearest column. The stone is cool and dry, its surface impossibly smooth, polished by time and the oils of 10,000 leaning shoulders. The fluting under your fingertips creates a rhythm, ridge and groove, repeating all the way up to the Capitol far above your head. You step through the temple entrance into the interior. The air changes immediately. It is cooler here still, weighted with the scent of old incense and dried laurel. The ceiling is high and painted in deep blue and gold, though much of the paint has faded. Light enters through a single rectangular opening in the roof, an oculus that sends a bright shaft downward like a column made of sunlight. The floor is paved in colored marble, geometric patterns of white, green, and dark red. Your footsteps echo softly in the enclosed space. At the far end, a statue of the deity stands in a carved niche, draped in linen. The face is serene, the eyes looking slightly downward. You do not know which god this is. It does not matter. The stillness here is its own form of worship. At the base of the statue, offerings have been left by the faithful. A small bronze coin, green with age. A handful of dried flowers, their petals papery and fragile. A folded ribbon of red cloth. A clay figurine of a bird. These are not grand offerings. They are personal, intimate, left by ordinary people asking for ordinary things. Health, safety, a good harvest, the well-being of a child. Roman religion was practical. The gods were not distant or abstract. They were neighbors, partners, beings you could bargain with. Leave an offering, say a prayer, and trust that someone was listening. You kneel for a moment in the cool silence. You do not pray. You simply rest here, in this space that others have filled with their hopes, and you feel the weight of their quiet devotion. You run your hand along a carved column near the entrance. The marble is extraordinary. It is smooth beyond anything you have touched before, cool and almost soft, like the skin of still water. The column was quarried somewhere far from Rome, perhaps in Greece, perhaps in Turkey, and shipped across the sea at enormous cost. Roman architecture depended on this global trade in stone. Marble from Carrara, granite from Egypt, porphyry from the eastern desert, all of it flowing toward Rome along trade routes that spanned the known world. You trace the fluting with your fingertips. Each groove is precise, cut by hand with iron chisels, then polished smooth with sand and water. The craftsmanship is quiet and perfect. It asks for nothing. It simply endures. Outside again, the fountain continues its quiet music. A small brown bird has landed on the edge of the basin and dips its beak into the water. It drinks in quick tipping motions, head up, head down, head up, before shaking its feathers and flying off. The water ripples where the bird stood and then grows still again. You watch the surface settle. In the reflection, you see the sky above, brighter now than when you arrived, streaked with pale rose and gold. A woman approaches the fountain with a clay jug. She fills it without hurry, balances it on her hip, and walks away. The fountain gives freely. It asks for nothing in return. This is what civic generosity looks like when it is built into stone and water. An inscription is carved into a stone wall beside the fountain. The letters are capitals, deep and precise, cut into the stone with the Roman certainty that words properly carved would last forever. You lean close and try to read. The Latin is formal, official. You recognize fragments: aqua, water; populus, the people; senatus, the Senate. It is a dedication, recording who authorized this fountain, who paid for it, whose name should be remembered. The Romans were obsessed with inscription. They carved their names, their deeds, their laws into every available surface. They wanted to be remembered. And here, 2,000 years later, the letters remain. The water still flows. The stone still stands. Whoever carved this name achieved exactly what they set out to do. The morning light has reached the top of the temple columns now. It creeps downward slowly, golden and warm, painting the pale stone in shades of amber and cream. The columns seem to glow from above, as if the sunlight is being poured over them like honey. Below, the shadows are still long and cool, but they are retreating, minute by minute. This is the transition hour. The world is moving from darkness to light, from cold to warm, from silence to sound. You stand in the space between the two, feeling both at once, the cool stone under your feet and the approaching warmth on the top of your head. The day is being born around you. It happens slowly, like everything in this city. You linger here, between the fountain and the temple, between water and stone. The two elements that define Roman architecture, liquid and solid, flowing and fixed. The fountain will never stop moving. The temple will never move at all. Together they create something beautiful in their contrast. You sit on the fountain's edge and rest your hands on the cool, wet stone. The water sounds close and constant, a whisper that never quite resolves into words. The temple rises silently behind you, solid and patient. You feel held between these two forces, cradled by the architecture of a city that understood how to build things that last. There is nowhere you need to be. The world is solid beneath you and flowing beside you. You close your eyes and breathe. The first merchant of the morning unfurls a bolt of linen. The fabric catches the air as it unrolls, billowing gently before settling across a wooden frame. It is the color of unbleached cream, soft and loosely woven, the kind of cloth that ordinary Romans wore against their skin. Linen was imported from Egypt, where it had been cultivated along the Nile for thousands of years. The merchant smooths the fabric with his palm, checking for flaws. He is a man of middle age, deliberate in his movements, his fingers stained with the dyes of his trade. Other stalls are beginning to assemble around him. Wooden planks are laid across trestles. Canopies of stretched cloth are raised against the coming sun. The market is waking, one merchant at a time. The sound of the market assembling is gentle and rhythmic. Wooden planks fit together with soft knocks. Iron pins slide into worn holes. Canvas stretches and flutters. These stalls are temporary structures, built each morning and taken down each evening, a daily act of construction and dismantling that has been repeated in this forum for centuries. The merchants know their spaces. Each one returns to the same spot, the same patch of stone, the same angle of morning light. There is no shouting, no competition for position. Everything has been settled long ago by custom and mutual agreement. You walk between the half-built stalls, watching the market take shape around you like a living thing assembling itself from parts, unhurried and confident. A spice merchant opens his clay jars one by one. Each lid is sealed with beeswax and linen, and as he breaks each seal, a different world escapes into the morning air. The first jar holds cinnamon, reddish-brown bark curled into tight scrolls, its scent warm and sweet and ancient. Cinnamon came to Rome from Sri Lanka, carried by Arab traders along routes that stretched for thousands of miles. The second jar holds cumin, small seeds the color of sand, sharp and earthy. The third is dried rosemary from the Italian hillsides, its needles stiff and fragrant with the memory of summer sun. The merchant arranges his jars in a careful row on the stone counter. Each one is labeled in small, neat letters. His entire world fits on this table. The scent of spices fills the air around you in layers. Close your eyes and breathe. There is cinnamon, yes, but beneath it the sharp bite of black pepper, imported from India at enormous cost. Then the sweetness of dried figs, the green freshness of bay leaves, the deep resinous warmth of frankincense, burned in temples and wealthy homes. Spices were more than flavoring in Rome. They were medicine, perfume, preservative, and currency. A handful of pepper could buy a month of labor. Saffron was worth more than gold by weight. The spice trade connected Rome to the far edges of the known world. Standing here, breathing in these scents, you are inhaling the entire geography of the ancient world, compressed into small clay jars on a market stall. Pottery is arranged on a low wooden table at the next stall. Bowls, cups, plates, oil lamps, each one shaped by hand on a potter's wheel and fired in a kiln. The clay is a warm reddish brown, the color called terra sigillata, famous throughout the Roman world. Some pieces are plain, others are decorated with raised figures, tiny scenes of gods and animals and grapevines pressed into the wet clay with carved molds. You pick up a small oil lamp. It fits in your palm, light and perfectly balanced. The nozzle where the wick emerges is blackened with the soot of past use. Someone owned this lamp. Someone filled it with olive oil each evening and lit it against the dark. You set it down gently, careful with its history. You pick up a small clay cup from the display. It fits perfectly in the curve of your palm, as if it were made for your hand specifically. The surface is rough and honest, unglazed, the natural color of baked earth. Inside, the clay is smoother, polished by the potter's thumb during shaping. There are no handles. Roman cups were often held in both hands, cupped gently, the warmth of the drink passing through the thin walls into your fingers. This cup cost almost nothing to make. Clay from the riverbank, water from the well, fire from the kiln. Yet it is beautiful in its simplicity. It does not pretend to be anything other than what it is. You hold it for a long moment, feeling the weight of something made entirely by human hands. Bolts of dyed fabric hang from wooden frames at the cloth merchant's stall. Deep Tyrian red, the most expensive color in the ancient world, extracted drop by drop from sea snails along the Phoenician coast. Beside it, a soft indigo blue made from woad imported from Gaul. Then a pale saffron yellow, warm as butter, reserved in Rome for the veils of brides. The colors are rich but not garish. They glow softly in the morning light, each one the result of months of labor. Dyeing fabric was a complex art. The mordants, the timing, the temperature of the dye bath, all of it mattered. You reach out and touch the red fabric. It is smooth and cool between your fingers, the color deep and even, as if the cloth had been soaked in wine. A woman arranges fruit on a stone slab at the edge of the market. Figs, dark purple and soft, their skins splitting slightly to reveal the pink flesh inside. Grapes in heavy clusters, dusted with a pale bloom. Pomegranates, their leathery red skin hiding the jeweled seeds within. Dates, wrinkled and amber, imported from the palms of North Africa. Roman markets overflowed with the produce of an empire that stretched from Britain to Egypt. Every season brought its own abundance. The woman handles each piece of fruit with care, arranging them in patterns that are pleasing to the eye. She is an artist of a practical kind. The display is not just for selling, it is for admiring. You stop and look. The colors are extraordinary against the gray stone. An oil seller sits behind a row of clay amphorae, each one filled with olive oil of a different grade. He pours a measure of golden oil into a small vessel for a waiting customer. The oil moves slowly, thick and viscous, catching the light as it falls in a thin, gleaming stream. Olive oil was essential to Roman life. They cooked with it, bathed with it, burned it in their lamps, and rubbed it into their skin. The finest oil came from the first pressing of green olives, cold and fruity, almost peppery on the tongue. The heavier grades were used for cooking and for light. The seller knows each amphora by touch. He can tell the quality by the color, the scent, the way the oil clings to the rim of the jar. Voices begin to fill the forum. Not loud, not yet. Just the steady murmur of people gathering, greeting each other, asking prices, sharing news. The sound builds gradually, like an orchestra tuning its instruments before a performance. Latin fills the air around you, the everyday Latin of shopkeepers and housewives, not the formal rhetoric of senators. It is a musical language, full of vowels and rolling consonants. You catch fragments as people pass. Salve, hello. Quantum, how much? Gratias, thank you. The words are familiar in their rhythm, even if you cannot follow every meaning. The Forum was the original public square, the place where the life of the city was conducted in the open air, visible to all. This is democracy made audible, commerce made communal. A leather worker sits on a low stool at the edge of the market, stitching a sandal. His tools are simple: a curved iron needle, a length of waxed thread, a sharp knife, and a smooth stone for finishing edges. He works with his head bent, focused entirely on the leather in his hands. The sandal is a caliga, the heavy-soled footwear worn by soldiers and working men. Each stitch is tight and even, the leather thick and strong, cut from cowhide that has been tanned with oak bark. The tanning process took months. The Romans were master leather workers, producing sandals, belts, armor, book covers, and water bags. You watch his needle move in and out of the leather with hypnotic regularity. Push through, pull tight. Push through, pull tight. The rhythm is meditative. You walk slowly between the stalls, touching nothing, taking everything in with your eyes and nose and ears. The market is a map of the Roman world laid out on wooden tables. Grain from Egypt, silk from China, tin from Britain, amber from the Baltic. Garum, the fermented fish sauce that Romans loved, shipped in sealed amphorae from factories in Spain. Each product has traveled hundreds or thousands of miles to reach this stone square in the center of Rome. The logistics required to supply a city of 1 million people were staggering. And yet here it all is, arranged neatly on market stalls, sold for small coins, consumed and replaced by tomorrow. You marvel at the quiet miracle of it, this vast machinery of trade reduced to ordinary human exchanges. The market is fully alive now, but it does not feel frantic. There is a pace to Roman commerce that is different from the modern world. People stop to talk. They hold an amphora up to the light and examine it carefully. They taste a sample of cheese and consider before buying. There is no urgency, no scrolling, no notification. Just people and products and the slow, pleasant business of acquiring what you need for the day. The forum hums with a gentle, productive energy, like bees moving through a garden. You stand at the edge of the market and let the sound wash over you. It is the sound of a civilization at work, not building monuments or fighting wars, but simply feeding itself, clothing itself, living. The ordinary work of being human. A mother walks slowly through the forum with a small child balanced on her hip. The child is perhaps 2 years old, round-faced and wide-eyed, pointing at everything with a chubby finger. A pigeon, a dog, a bright piece of cloth hanging from a market stall. The mother follows each pointed finger with her gaze, smiling, naming things in a low voice. This is how language begins, in the space between a child's curiosity and a mother's patience. Roman children learned Latin this way, word by word, object by object, walking through the same forum where senators debated and generals triumphed. But this morning, the forum belongs to these two, a mother and her child, learning the names of ordinary things. An old man sits on a stone bench near the rostra, the ancient speaker's platform from which orators address the Roman people. He is thin and white-haired, wrapped in a simple toga despite the warming air. He watches the sky with the particular stillness of someone who has learned to be comfortable with silence. His hands rest on his knees. His eyes are calm. He has nowhere to be. In Rome, old age was respected. The paterfamilias, the eldest male of the household, held absolute authority. But beyond the law, there was a simpler respect. The old had survived. They carried memory. They had seen the city change. This man has watched 1,000 mornings from this bench, each one different, each one the same. He sits and watches, and that is enough. A scribe sits cross-legged under a stone arch, arranging his tools for the day ahead. Before him, a low wooden desk holds a row of reed pens, a pot of black ink made from soot and gum arabic, and a stack of papyrus sheets, smooth and pale. Scribes were essential in Rome. In a world before printing, every document, every letter, every record had to be written by hand. This man writes wills, contracts, letters for those who cannot write themselves. His handwriting is small and precise, practiced to the point of being almost mechanical. He tests a pen on a scrap of papyrus, drawing a few quick lines. The ink flows evenly. He nods with satisfaction, sets the pen down, and waits for his first customer of the morning. Two men meet in the open square and greet each other with a firm clasp of right hands. This is the Roman handshake, the same gesture depicted on countless coins and carvings as a symbol of trust and agreement. They speak softly, leaning close. One gestures toward the market, the other nods and laughs gently, a quiet, comfortable sound. They are friends, or perhaps business partners, beginning their day with the small ritual of human connection. Roman social life was built on these networks of personal obligation and friendship. Amicitia, they called it, a word that meant something deeper than modern friendship, implying loyalty, mutual aid, and trust. The two men walk together into the market, still talking, their voices blending into the growing murmur of the forum around them. A girl of perhaps 10 walks carefully from the fountain, carrying a clay jug of water on her shoulder. She moves with the slow, balanced gait of someone who has learned through practice not to spill. The jug is large for her, but she manages it with quiet competence. Water carrying was a daily chore in Roman households that did not have direct plumbing, which was most of them. The public fountains served thousands of homes, and every morning someone from each household made this trip. The girl's sandals make soft sounds on the stone. The water in the jug makes its own sound, a gentle, contained sloshing that marks each careful step. She passes you without looking up, focused entirely on her task, a small person carrying something essential. A dog lies stretched in a patch of early sunlight that has found its way between two buildings. It is a medium-sized dog, tawny-colored, with the lean, alert build of a Roman street dog. But right now it is entirely relaxed. Its legs are extended, its belly pressed against the warm stone. Its eyes are half closed. As you watch, it yawns enormously, showing every tooth, then settles deeper into the warmth with a long, satisfied sigh. Dogs were everywhere in ancient Rome. They guarded homes, herded livestock, hunted in the countryside, and lounged in the forum. The Romans loved their dogs. They named them, mourned them, and carved their portraits on tombstones. This particular dog has found the perfect spot. The sun warms its fur, the stone warms its bones. It sleeps without worry. In a doorway across the street, a woman sits at a small wooden loom. The frame is simple, propped against the wall at an angle. Her fingers move the shuttle back and forth with fluid, practiced grace. The threads cross and recross, building fabric row by row. Weaving was one of the most important domestic arts in Rome. Even wealthy women were expected to know how to spin and weave. It was a mark of virtue, of industry, of proper Roman womanhood. The great Augustus himself wore togas woven by his wife and daughter. The woman in the doorway weaves in silence. Her hands know the pattern. Her eyes are distant, perhaps thinking of something else entirely. The shuttle moves. The cloth grows. The morning passes through her fingers, thread by thread. Children run past you, barefoot on the stone, their laughter sharp and bright against the deeper sounds of the market. 3 of them, chasing each other in some game whose rules are invisible to adults. They dodge between market stalls, leap over a low wall, and disappear down a side street, their voices fading into echoes. Children in Rome played much as children do everywhere. They had dolls made of clay and wood, toy chariots pulled by string, balls of leather stuffed with feathers. They played knucklebones and hide-and-seek, and a dozen games whose names are lost to history. Their laughter is the same. It crosses centuries without changing. You listen to it fade and feel something loosen in your chest, a warmth that comes from hearing joy in its purest form. A vendor at the edge of the market offers you a cup of warm spiced wine. Mulsum, the Romans called it, wine sweetened with honey and heated with spices. He pours it from a clay pitcher into a small handleless cup and holds it out. You take it. The cup is warm in your hands. The wine is deep red, almost purple, fragrant with cinnamon and a hint of pepper. You bring it to your lips. The first sip is sweet and warm, spreading through your chest like a small fire. The spices tingle on your tongue. The honey smooths the rough edges of the wine. Romans drank wine at nearly every meal, usually mixed with water. Pure wine was considered barbaric. This mulsum is a morning drink, gentle and warming, meant to ease the body into the day ahead. An elderly woman tends a small garden behind a low wall near the edge of the forum. The garden is tiny, perhaps 3 paces square, but it overflows with life. Rosemary grows in thick bushes along the wall. Basil and thyme crowd together in clay pots. A small fig tree, no taller than the woman herself, spreads its broad leaves over the entire plot. She moves among the plants slowly, pinching dead leaves, checking the soil with her fingers. Roman gardens were both practical and spiritual. Herbs were medicine, flowers were offerings to the gods. Fruit trees were symbols of abundance. Even in the heart of the city, Romans maintained these small green spaces, these quiet arguments against stone and dust. The woman hums softly as she works. Her garden grows around her like a blessing. You find a quiet corner near a column base and sit down. The stone is warm now, heated by the climbing sun. You rest your back against the column and watch the people of the forum pass before you. Each one carries a story. The merchant arguing over the price of garum. The girl with the water jug, now returning empty-handed for a second trip. The scribe, bent over a document, his pen moving steadily. The old man on his bench, unchanged, still watching the sky. You are invisible here, a visitor from another time, observing without being observed. The anonymity is peaceful. You do not need to speak, to buy, to sell, to be anyone at all. You can simply sit and watch the beautiful, ordinary machinery of human life in motion. The forum is full now, but the fullness is gentle. Bodies move around each other with the easy navigation of people accustomed to shared space. There is no pushing, no shoving, only the fluid dynamics of a crowd that knows its rhythms. Voices blend into a single warm sound, like the hum of a beehive or the murmur of a river. Everyone is moving at the same pace, the pace of the morning, the pace of a city that has been doing this for centuries. You feel it in your own body, a slowing, a settling into the rhythm of the place. Your breath matches the breath of the city. Your heartbeat aligns with the heartbeat of the crowd. You are part of this now. You belong to this morning. You feel part of this place. Not as a Roman, not as a citizen, but as something simpler. A person, alive, breathing the same air, walking the same stones, warmed by the same sun. The distance between your time and theirs collapses into something thin and translucent. 2,000 years is nothing. The bread still tastes like bread. The water still runs cold. Children still laugh. Dogs still sleep in the sun. Mothers still carry their babies and name the world for them. The old still sit and watch and remember. What changes are the surfaces, the materials, the technologies. What remains is the human pattern underneath, enduring and recognizable across every century. You are home here. Not because you belong, but because the ordinary human things are always the same. You breathe, you watch, you rest. The sun clears the rooftops of the Palatine Hill, and suddenly everything is gold. The transformation is instant and absolute. One moment the forum is a place of soft grey and muted color. The next, it blazes. The columns of the temples catch the light and glow like pillars of amber. The paving stones turn from grey to warm honey. The market canopies, the hung fabrics, the fruit on the stone slabs, everything is touched and transformed. This is the hour the Romans called prima hora, the first hour of the official day. Before this, the time belonged to the shadows and the early workers. Now it belongs to everyone. The sun is democratic in its warmth. It falls equally on senator and slave, on temple and market stall, on the living and the ancient dead. The stone beneath you grows warm. You press your palm flat against the paving and feel the heat entering the rock, degree by slow degree. The travertine absorbs the sun's energy and holds it, releasing it slowly throughout the day. By afternoon, these stones will be hot to the touch, but now, in this early hour, the warmth is gentle and welcoming, like the hand of an old friend placed on your shoulder. You sit on a low step and press both palms against the stone. The warmth travels up through your hands, into your arms, settling into your chest. Rome is warming around you. The cold of the pre-dawn is a memory now, replaced by this golden, generous heat. You close your eyes and feel the sun on your eyelids, red and warm and kind. Shadows shrink and sharpen across the forum floor. The columns cast dark, precise lines that move imperceptibly as the sun climbs. An hour ago, these shadows stretched the length of the forum. Now they are retreating, pulling back toward the columns that cast them, like tide going out on a beach of stone. The contrast between light and shadow is vivid and clean. Bright gold and deep black, with almost nothing in between. Roman architects understood light. They designed their buildings to work with the sun, orienting columns and doorways to create specific effects at specific times of day. This hour, when the shadows are long and the light is low, was perhaps their favorite. It was the hour when their buildings looked most alive, most dramatic, most themselves. A flock of starlings rises suddenly from a rooftop at the edge of the forum. They lift as one body, a dark cloud of beating wings, and wheel across the golden sky in a shifting, flowing pattern. The Romans watched birds obsessively. Augury, the art of reading the future in the flight of birds, was a cornerstone of their religion. No major decision, no battle, no building project could begin without first consulting the birds. A priest called an augur would stand in a sacred space, face south, and watch the sky. Birds on the left were favorable, birds on the right were a warning. You watched the starlings turn and twist above the forum, their pattern endlessly changing, endlessly beautiful. You do not know what it means. It does not matter. It is simply magnificent. The fountain water catches the sunlight now. Each drop that falls from the lion's mouth ignites for a moment, a tiny flash of gold, before splashing into the basin and disappearing. The surface of the basin shimmers with reflected light, a constantly shifting pattern of bright lines and dark spaces. A child has stopped to watch, mesmerized by the play of light on water. She holds her mother's hand and stares, mouth slightly open, lost in the simple magic of it. Water and light, two of the most basic things in the world. Together, they create something that has captivated human beings for as long as we have had eyes to see. The fountain does not know it is beautiful. It simply does what it has always done. The beauty is a gift, offered freely to anyone who stops to look. You sit on the steps of the Temple of Saturn, near the western end of the Forum. The temple is one of the oldest in Rome, dedicated to the god of agriculture and time. Its 8 surviving columns are massive, carved from grey granite imported from Egypt, their capitals gilded in a gold that has long since worn away. But in the morning light, they glow as if the gold was still there, as if the centuries of weathering were merely a thin veil over something eternal. The marble step beneath you is warm. You lean back on your hands and let the sun fall fully on your face. The warmth is like a blessing, gentle and complete. You have been walking for hours. You have earned this rest. The city hums around you, content and busy, and you sit at its ancient heart. The voices of the market have blended into a single continuous sound. It is not noise, it is something softer, something organic, like the murmur of a river flowing over smooth stones. Dozens of conversations, transactions, greetings and farewells, all woven together into a tapestry of human sound. You cannot pick out individual words anymore. The Latin has become music, a melody without a tune, rising and falling with its own internal rhythm. Occasionally, a louder sound breaks through, a laugh, the bark of a dog, the ring of a hammer. But these are brief, swallowed almost immediately by the greater murmur. You let the sound wash over you. It is the sound of a city alive, of a million small acts of living happening simultaneously, each one insignificant, all of them together magnificent. A breeze passes through the Forum. It comes from the west, from the direction of the Tiber, carrying the scent of water and green reeds. It passes through the market, picking up the smell of bread and roasting nuts and crushed herbs. It passes the fountain, adding a note of cool, clean stone. It passes the temple, where incense smoke is drawn briefly sideways before settling again. The breeze touches your face and lifts the hair from your forehead. It is warm now, this wind. The morning chill is gone completely. The air smells of everything the Forum contains: bread, stone dust, olive oil, spice, linen, warm marble, and the green living scent of the herbs growing in the old woman's garden. You breathe it all in. This is the smell of Rome. You close your eyes. The warmth of the sun rests on your face like a gentle hand, pressing softly against your eyelids, your cheeks, the bridge of your nose. You can feel it on your forearms, on the backs of your hands, on the tops of your feet in their sandals. The heat is not fierce. It is the kindest version of the sun, the morning sun. Still low, still gentle, offering warmth without demand. Behind your closed eyelids, the world is a soft orange-red, the color of light filtered through skin and blood. You hear the fountain. You hear the market. You hear the distant cry of a bird. You feel the stone beneath you, warm and solid, holding you up. You do not need to open your eyes. Everything you need is right here. The sounds around you grow softer, as if the world is wrapping itself in cotton. Footsteps become distant, voices lower to a murmur. The splash of the fountain becomes a whisper. The market hum recedes to the edge of hearing. This is not silence. It is the gentling of sound that happens when you stop listening with effort and simply let the world speak at its own volume. Your breathing has slowed. Your shoulders have dropped. The tension that you did not know you were carrying has dissolved into the warm stone beneath you. The Forum holds you as it has held millions of people before you. It is a cradle made of stone and history. You rest in it, and it asks nothing of you in return. You breathe slowly and deeply, in through your nose, tasting the warm air, out through your mouth, releasing something you did not know you were holding. The morning has unfolded around you like a flower opening in slow motion. First the darkness, then the lamplight, then the bread, the water, the stone, the market, the people, and now this, the full golden light of a Roman morning. Each hour has been a gift. Each moment has been complete in itself. You have not rushed. You have not needed to. The morning gave itself to you at its own pace, and you accepted it, moment by moment, breath by breath. This is what it means to be present. This is what the ancient Romans knew without naming it. The day is here. You are here. That is everything. This place will stand for centuries more. The columns will endure earthquakes and invasions and the slow erosion of rain. The stones will be walked by generations you cannot imagine. Emperors will come and go. The Republic will fall. Christianity will rise. The empire will split and crumble and be remembered. But these stones, these columns, this fountain, they will survive. They will be buried under centuries of rubble and then unearthed again by people who want to understand what came before. They will be photographed and studied and admired by visitors from every corner of a world the Romans never knew existed. But this morning, this exact morning, with this exact light and this exact warmth, belongs only to you. No one else will ever experience it exactly this way. It is yours completely. The sun is fully up now. The Forum glows in every direction, warm and bright and busy and alive. The market is in full swing. The temples are open. The fountain sings its endless song. Dogs sleep in the sun. Children play. Scribes write. Merchants sell. Mothers walk with their babies and name the world. The old man still sits on his bench, watching the sky, content. And you are here, resting on the steps of Saturn's temple, warm and unhurried, part of this ancient morning. You do not need to leave. You do not need to go anywhere. The morning will hold you as long as you wish to stay. And when you are ready, when the warmth has filled you completely, you will close your eyes and carry this place with you, wherever you go, forever.